one that we have received from many people since the experience came out, actually, and the world has gone completely nuts. I will kind of take several questions and put them into one. Jim, what are your thoughts on Vince McMahon's reluctance to cancel WrestleMania? At the same time, all these other major sports have shut operations, big events, concerts, everything is closed down, and the city of Tampa has indicated that they want him to cancel, and that if he doesn't do it soon, they're just going to do it for him.
Well, we talked about on the experience last week that Vince won't cancel shit regardless of his own volition, because he doesn't recognize sickness, illness, weakness, disease, whatever. Show must go on. But I think there's more to it than that, and somebody has speculated that there's an insurance clause. If they cancel the event, maybe they can't cash something in, but if the city cancels out from under them, they can. Or maybe if the city cancels, it might be considered breach of contract, and the WWE could go after them, and they don't trust them not to. There's something going on besides just we don't want to cancel this event. And I'm sure it'll come to light eventually, but I don't know exactly right now what it is. But because they've already canceled their other events, and they've already started, we talked about the fact that the WWE above everybody has a place to tape, the Performance Center. I was thinking Full Sail, but now Full Sail has suspended their operations.
Yeah.
But they can tape it. They have their own building. It's the Davis Arena. Thank you. You're welcome, Vince, for the idea of the Davis Arena that's led to FCW and led to NXT and led to the Performance Center. Because if this was happening now, even the OVW, now under the new ownership of Al Snow, Danny's retired and living life in Florida, they've suspended their events. But we would not have had to suspend our television show because we could have taped from our building that we had access to anytime we wanted. It's the same thing the WWE is doing. AEW doesn't have that luxury yet.
Actually, they do. That building in Jacksonville is owned by the Khans. Or by Shad Khan, I should say.
I did not. But by the Khans, you mean the people at the state penitentiary? No.
The ex-Khans.
Yeah, the ex-Khans. Well, okay, I didn't know they owned the thing, but well, in that case, then that's what they'll probably be doing. And people are going to say, well, you still can't have people. Here's the thing, and we're going to review SmackDown again this week. I have not watched it yet because of various other commitments I've had, including getting all the fine and Cornette's collectibles out to people. That's all I'm doing in public this week is 3 trips to the post office. But I saw the clips. They can't do it again. The WWE can't. And AEW definitely shouldn't have an empty arena. No. Lawler and Funk pulled it off because it had never been heard of. It was a challenge made in the course of the middle of their angle. It was something. It was only lasted 7 or 8 minutes. It was meant to be a conversation piece. And history has been actually kinder to the Lawler and Funk empty arena match than it should have been because it didn't draw any money because they hurt the wrong guy. Terry was leaving to go to Japan and couldn't be back for 4 or 5 weeks. So they injured him. They should have injured Lawler. Then it would have drawn money. But nobody wanted to see Terry Funk get revenge on Jerry Lawler for stabbing his eye out. But anyway, you can't have matches in front of an empty building. And you don't have to let fans in. I just read an article that was talking about the new, documentary on NXT and
FCW.
It was talking about the new documentary on FCW, but now NXT, blah, blah, blah. The point is they have 100 fucking wrestlers that are training there, right? Not that are on the main roster. Somebody said they got 300 wrestlers now signed up between Raw and SmackDown and developmental. Put the fucking boys and their girlfriends out in the audience. Nobody knows who. If some guy's 7'5" don't stick him out there, and you don't really have to light the audience up that well to see every single person's face. But a lot of these wrestlers are not going to be recognizable to the general public because they're still in training and developmental and they haven't even made NXT TV yet. Take those people and their fucking girlfriends or their wives or some, whatever the fuck, a private gathering, 50 or 100 of them, to make some noise and react in some way. And so then you've got your own building, you've got your own crowd, and you can play with the seating and dim the lights down to where you don't have to look at a bunch of empty seats. And it's studio wrestling.
But you're still putting everyone in that audience at risk.
No, it's the goddamn guys for fuck's sake. I don't think there's any people in the developmental program for the WWE that are supposed to be professional athletes that are going to goddamn be frail enough or have underlying physical conditions that they are going to die from the coronavirus. And secondly, have a thermometer at the front door and take all the girlfriends' temperatures.
Well, it's not about them dying. It's about them getting the disease and transmitting it to someone else, specifically someone over the age of 60.
Stay away from old people. I don't know. The point is
so Vince can't be there.
No, it'd probably be better if Vince is not there. Because then he'd start monkeying with everything.
That's true, yes.
But no, you've got to have some people. Have your people. For fuck's sake, I'm not saying go out and lick handrails at the airport. Have your fucking people that aren't sick, aren't feeling poorly, in the goddamn stands. And even then, you don't have to go up and fucking hug on them. If they're in the stands 30 feet away making some fucking noise, it'll help your television program. It doesn't mean you have to go fucking fillet each and every one of them and get their fucking bodily fluids all over you. And it's a controlled group, and it's your people. And then if something happens, it happens. But you weren't out in the goddamn general public. You didn't endanger any public, and you made your television program better. Because if you cannot do wrestling in front of no people, as everybody who has ever seen one of these angles tried an empty fight or a fight in an empty building or gone to an outlaw show that drew 12 people, you can't do it. It looks even.
Well, let me ask you.
All WWE wrestling right now looks phony to me because of the way it's presented. And it looks and sounds even phonier with no reaction or response from an audience.
If you were booking something and I told you, Jim, for the next month, you could have no audience there, do you think you'd be up to that challenge? You think you'd be able to put on a show? And again, you don't have to have matches. You could do interviews. You could do even interviews on location. You could have, obviously, archival footage, however you wanted to put that show together, or you could have matches in an empty building. If I told you had 1 month, no audience, no ifs, ands, or buts, can't get around that, do you think you'd be able to do it?
No audience, not even the wrestlers in the stands.
No one in the stands
cheering for themselves.
No.
Then I would do one program with interviews and clips of previous week's television to explain why the fuck you weren't going to see us on TV for a month, and then I'd do best ofs for 3 more weeks. I would not have matches in front of no people on a regular basis for an entire television show and multiple television shows. It would kill your talent and your fucking, and it looks phony. It looks and sounds even phonier than modern day WWE sports entertainment wrestling does. To have nobody there. It just does, for whatever reason. Look at all the fucking outlaw shows. ECW used to do this weekly. They'd do angles in the back where people were getting beat up in the back or in the whatever the fuck. In a parking lot, a 3-minute angle with people yelling and screaming and trying to break it up, that's okay. But you can't just go out and have fucking matches with absolutely nobody there. It's just fucking death. Miserable.
Back to WrestleMania, do you think it's a foregone conclusion that it will be canceled?
Oh, they ain't going to fucking have it. They're not going to have on that date. I can't imagine that they would. And maybe Vince has said, oh, fuck it, this will blow over in a couple of weeks. We don't have to announce it now, pal. But whatever the reason is, the city and the company are playing chicken and wanting the other to make the call. There has to be something more to it because the city of Tampa is not going to care that much about pissing Vince McMahon off. So there has to be, they got some kind of dog in this hunt that is keeping them from just calling them up and saying, fuck it, you can't do it. And conversely, besides the fact that Vince would not want to cancel that would be like canceling having a child born for Vince to cancel WrestleMania. But there's got to be some business reason why they are continuing to drag this on when they have canceled their other events or postponed them or changed them or whatever. And I don't know what that secret could be at this point, but something fishy is going on.
So much of booking, or I guess creatively writing a wrestling program, is about timing out the programs, timing out the resolutions to certain programs, and of course the big matches. What do you do now? If, let's say you have to postpone WrestleMania. I mean, it's not going to happen. They're going to have to postpone it. But let's say you postpone it to July, August, and that's probably optimistic, considering the type of operation and production it is, and just there's so much going on. We still don't know when all of this is, when they're going to say, things are calm now, you can at least go back to the restaurant or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you do? I mean, you've been building up Brock versus Drew McIntyre. You've been building up certain things. If you know now that you have to extend this, at least extend the period of time to WrestleMania, do you keep these feuds and these matches in line to be on WrestleMania? Do you extend their programs and try to push them forward to WrestleMania? Or do you do something else and come up with something else in 6 months?
God, maybe a combination of all those things. If you were set on your main events as being your biggest money drawing matches, that's what you've got to have. But you can tinker with the card a little bit and maybe have a couple of the underneath matches that were scheduled on a television program on Raw or SmackDown and do something out of that leads to some change or maybe a stipulation, or just tweak it up a little bit where you're not just advertising the same thing. When we had to cancel Christmas Chaos here in Louisville for 6 weeks, or postpone it for 6 weeks, from that snowstorm that time, as I mentioned, we were able to keep mostly the same card because it was what we had built to. And with a couple of underneath changes and to freshen things up, a little extra added parsley or garnish on it or whatever. But over the course of, 6 weeks of television, I still managed to keep the same thing alive and keep people's interest in it. But that was 6 weeks. And a week or two, that was during Christmas time where it was best of shows anyway, Christmas and New Year's. So really it's more like 4 weeks of TV. You can't do the same thing for 3 or 4 months. You maybe can keep the main events, a couple of main events, but you've got to change things up because you can't just be treading water like that. And I don't know that no major show in the history of wrestling has ever been postponed for several months. So, we'll see what happens. But as far as if I was AEW, instead of, because as I mentioned, they've still got to get the guys to them. Even if they have empty arena matches, they still got to get guys there. And now you have to fly. And I said on the experience, if the show's running, the show must go on, and you're a fucking pussy if you don't go if everybody else is going, right? But that's also, now you can't just get in your car and travel with your friends. You have to go through the airports and shit because wrestling is so fucked up now that you have to fly all across the country just to make a goddamn living. You can't draw in a fucking regional area anymore. So that's not something that everybody be looking forward to. So go ahead. As I said, you're talking about billionaires here. Send your fucking plane or charter a plane and get the people that you need to have, and maybe for a month, concentrate on the 4 individuals or teams or whatever that you would like to make stronger. And especially with AEW, sit them down, do sit downs, do some promos, get some match footage, do some packages, tell a bio story, and have a highlight show. Since they got 2 hours, you do a couple of different people. But do your main event talents and your main event teams and have a good idea on who that is. I don't think anybody wants to hear more behind the scenes of the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. But for that kind of audience, they'd love to see the young bucks on the road or at home, or more about them or whatever. Focus on specials on your top talent and get them over as good as you can. So when you resume your shows, maybe they look a little better in the process. Do not have matches. I repeat, do not have any more matches than you absolutely have to in an empty building in front of no people making no noise, because it's hokey as fucking shit and it looks phony as a football bat.
obviously the ratings have started to go down a little bit, but this version of the XFL has been critically better reviewed than the original version, and now Vince has had to shut down the XFL.
That's another, he's got to be fucking hot, right? He's got to be hot. What the fuck? This thing is snake bit. It was shut down the first time by popular demand, and this time it's halfway getting over, and they fucking bring in a fucking virus to shut it down. Yeah. These other sports at least have seasons. So it's not like everybody expects it to go on year round no matter what. We do know what its life is like without football or basketball in this country because much of the year that's the way it is. It's just nothing has ever, and they've had player disputes and they've had contract lockouts and they've had all that stuff, shutdowns and whatever. It's happened in every sport. Nothing has ever stopped wrestling. That's why everybody's hair is on fire. Nothing has ever stopped wrestling before. And now it has.